Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the intuitive card reading for the week of October 20th through 26th. You guys know what to do. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Please share this video with anybody that needs to hear the energies and influences of the week. What else? Comments down below. Any kind of comment, any kind of feedback, any kind of question, it's all allowed, except I just ask that you guys be kind. I don't think I'm asking too much for that. With that, I'm using two decks. I have been actually for the last few readings, and you guys are familiar with them already, so no need to introduce, but they are shuffled and ready to go. And I think that's it. Guys. My videos are getting too long because I'm rambling, so let's just go right into it. My goal is always under 30 minutes. I know you guys are busy. Okay, so let's begin. All right, what do we need? A change in the wind. Oh, don't we need a change? Don't we need a change? Who out there is living a Groundhog's Day? Because I am. If you are, put it down below. Make me feel not so alone. But I have a feeling a lot of people are. The same thing kind of over and over and over again. We need a change, okay? I will say sometimes a change in the wind is kind of like major type energy, but it definitely feels a little bit minor. So it could be minor changes. Get a haircut, change your hair, change where you go on Friday nights or go on the weekends, change up your workup class. Any kind of small change that you can do, especially if you're waiting for a big change. I definitely put myself in that category. Do something that could kind of change it up. You need to do something that gets you out of your normal routine, something that gets you out of your rut, again, Groundhog Day. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about with that, it's a movie. It's a great movie, okay? Where basically the actor, Bill Murray, is reliving the same day, which is Groundhog Day, over and over and over and over again. So we don't like that. We need to change things up. And our spirits are asking us to do that. Our soul needs a change, okay? So make a change in any way that you can. All right, action needed. We have mediator and the light. Strategy, respect for both sides. Okay, so yes, you're landing right in the middle. You are a good mediator, okay? Because it's in the light. So this is saying that we need to take action on that. So we need to be coming from a more centrist perspective. We need to be seeing both sides of an argument. So this is especially good if we are in an argument, okay? If you're in an argument with somebody or somebody comes to you and says, hey, I feel, X, Y, and Z about you in our relationship. And, and you say, well, I've been really busy. I have no help. And, you have all of these things that are going on in your life, but maybe look at their perspective as well. And see, they need a friend too. And, maybe you don't have a lot of time, but, they were there for you in this particular time of your life. And, maybe you could return the favor kind of situation. So just look at where they're coming from, look at from where you're coming from, and just kind of like look at both sides of an argument technically, not an actual, you don't have to be verbally yelling at each other. But it's kind of saying like you have to kind of like look at both sides of things. This is also good if you are trying to decide on something. Like it's almost kind of saying like, what are the pros, what are the cons? Look at both sides of things. If you're wondering if you should buy a car, maybe you live in like a decent city where it's definitely walkable, but maybe a car would make things more balanced for you or make things a little bit more convenient for you. But it's going to cost more, you kind of like, it's kind of like checks and balances. It's kind of saying like, look at the pros, look at the cons, like look at both sides of the coin, essentially. So, and it's under action needed. So you need to take action. So something tells me this might be something on deadline or something that really does need to happen this week. But yeah, it could be relational, but it also could be like something, like buying a car, like I mentioned. Okay. Issue, what do we have? Yin. Okay, so this is more yin energy, is more being energy, is about standing still, it's about receiving. So it's under issue. We have issues with this. This could also represent like our emotional side. So basically it's saying that we're having issues there. Could be all of those things, right? Where we might be not able to control our emotions, where we might not be able to sit still, where we might not be able to be in a place where we can receive, like we're in our hyper independence and we're not able to let people help us or something along those lines. Can be different for everybody, but we're just having trouble, or even just like being, and that that can mean so many, be the opposite of being is doing, right? So you're, yang is the doing energy. So it might be that you're having trouble, like I mentioned, like sitting still, or just like being okay with yourself or accepting yourself in some way, shape, or form. So that's very interesting that came up there. All right, challenge. What else are we having issues with here? Rebel in the light. So challenges authority to affect social change. Rejects systems that do not serve inner needs. Okay, so this is about being rebellious. But it's like in a positive way. And so this is, it's a challenge for us. Okay, I'm trying to not get into camera here. I don't know if you guys eventually like see my face come into camera, but hopefully not. My hair is always a mess. But anyway. So basically it's saying rebelling like for a good thing. Maybe even I could say like the word protest here, where that is rebelling in like a positive way. That's like a good example of that. So we're having challenges, protesting or rebelling in a positive way. What's a good example here? You work in an office and, there's nothing on the books or in the handbook about you dyeing your hair a purple color, for example, like anything outside of like a natural type hair color. You really want to do that. And that's kind of like rebelling against the system, rebelling against corporate America, rebelling against capitalism. You can kind of look at it in all those different ways. But you're having it's challenging for you to go ahead and pull the trigger and actually do it, right? You're not actually able to do it because maybe you have fear of retaliation or standing out, or maybe you have this thing about like going against rules, even though, like I said, it's not in the handbook. So that would be like, it's not hurting anybody. It's just showing your individuality and your autonomy and your self-expression. Which is all things that kind of fall under like being rebellious. But for some reason, you're just not pulling the trigger and you're not necessarily doing it. So you're having issues doing it. Now, I will say it does feel like you eventually kind of pull the trigger and go forward with it. So that's good. So you rebel or protest against the system or individual, organization, whatever, and do it. And so that's good. So you eventually kind of get over that hump, but essentially it's kind of like a challenge for you. So you have to kind of like deal with the obstacles that are there, like I mentioned, fear of standing out, or, fear of getting fired for it, or whatever it actually is. So you kind of deal with that and move past it. And maybe that was like a terrible example, but you guys can put down below, as I mentioned earlier, comments are always welcomed. I love to see how this resonates with you, and I would love to see how any rebellious energy is challenging for you during this week. All right, what's changing? Because obviously we need things to change, right? We got the change card right off the bat, so let's see what else is going on. Chaos and conflict. Okay, so I definitely feel like this is going in the positive, so don't freak out when you see conflict and you're saying, oh God, I don't need more, drama in my life. But I definitely do feel like things are changing in that way, where maybe the drama is becoming less, or things are becoming calmer, where I don't want to say less obstacles. I just finished talking about like a couple of obstacles that we're having, but more so like things aren't as chaotic. This could also mean like you're getting more organized. Okay, that could definitely mean that for the chaos and conflict card. This could also be that you're now getting along with somebody where you weren't maybe even just like the week before or 2 weeks ago or whatever. There's more peace in that way. I don't feel like it's major. It definitely does feel like it might be minors, but anything that think about things that maybe were minor inconveniences in the past, they're not necessarily bothering you this week. And so that's positive to me. So that's what's changing. All right, focus. What do we need to focus on? Detective, great powers of observation and intuition. Desire to seek out the truth. My truth seekers. There's also a seeker card in here too. Very similar to detective. So, okay, so this is about finding something out. This is about seeking the truth. So basically it's saying focus on that. Focus on your detective skills, whatever that might mean to you. Seeking the truth in some area of your life. Seeking the, like maybe somebody, you feel like somebody might be lying to you or fibbing to you about something. And Spirit is asking you to kind of make it a priority to figure out what the truth is. I will say, again, this doesn't feel major. I'm not getting like huge major energy from any of these energies quite yet. Maybe the change in the wind comes out like, because it comes out first and it kind of comes on strong. It's kind of like your first shot of whiskey, right? If you haven't had whiskey in a while and it's like, woof. But, you're not drunk right away, so it's not like major, but it's like whew, right off the bat kind of energy. So that's how I look at always like the first card. It's kind of like that energy like hits you in the face. Anyway, so this is the priority to kind of figure out and get down to the bottom of something. Okay, so if there's been something that's been plaguing you, again, I don't think it's like a huge family secret or something like that. Could be, maybe, but I definitely feel like it's like more in the everyday thing. It's a little bit more on the minor energetic scale, I will say. All right, reflect. Imagine. Okay, so imagine is about visualization. It's about, picturing the life that you want. Could be about manifestation as well. So it's saying reflecting on the things that you want in your life. And I always say this is like a journal prompt, but I keep mentioning the word visualization. This might just be, you don't even have to take to a journal like a pen to a paper. It's really about sitting down and envisioning in your mind's eye, in your third eye, about the life that you want, the things that you want, how you want things to look on the day-to-day basis, the material things that you want, and all of those different things. So, I would say it's a powerful week for a visualization, and it's important that you kind of, to me, I like any cards that tell you to kind of like look forward, because we're not necessarily looking back, right? Nothing's like really necessarily like holding us back anymore. So it's saying like now, because reflect sometimes is really about like looking back. This is about let's look forward. And we haven't had a card like that in this section here in a long time, if ever, to be honest. This is about visualizing what you want and reflecting on that. Reflecting on your desires, maybe, is a good way to put it. All right, we have responsibility. We have martyr in the shadow. Looking for pity. Okay. Guys, we have to look at the shadow parts of ourselves. It's our responsibility to not go there. Okay, so if you find yourself, we all do it, we all have done it at one point in our lives, where we want people to maybe feel bad for us, or we are only thinking about what X, Y, and Z does to us, or creating our own suffering. Maybe a quick example is 20 viable people asked you out on a date for this weekend, and you turned all 20 down for not because you vetted and they broke your deal breakers and things like that, just because you were maybe like super picky or something like that. And then the weekend comes and you say, nobody ever asked me out, and you're kind of like, complaining to your friends, and you're kind of saying like, oh God, what is it about me? And so you're stuck kind of like in this place of pity, because you're being extremely picky, you're being extremely unflexible and unadaptable, if those are even words. Is that a word? I think it is. To giving somebody a chance, or going after what you want by maybe looking for your own dates, or asking people out on your own, like taking initiative, creating your own reality kind of situation. So just be careful not to, I don't know if my examples are hitting it this week or not. This is what happens when I have to think of something on the fly, but that's what I would say is like kind of like this shadow martyr type energy. It's like kind of like, we do something to ourselves that, and then we kind of like ask for pity about it, ask for, people feeling bad for us and that kind of thing. I think you guys know what I mean. Just make sure we don't like go into that territory, okay? Because it's under responsibility. So it's our responsibility to not get sucked in with this. I will also say this could potentially be someone else in our lives that maybe, you're hearing what I'm saying. You're like, oh my God, I know somebody that does that all the time. This could be your responsibilities are not to get sucked into that, okay? Maybe this person is like, maybe you're always the person that's like, there for them. And I'm not saying don't be there for your friends, but they're almost this like an enabling behavior here where you kind of like can get sucked into their story, into their pity story and that kind of thing. So just be careful of that. So if it's you, watch your own behavior. And if it's someone else, don't get sucked in this week, basically, is what Spirit is saying here. All right, money, finances, and career. We have truth be told. Ooh, more truth. We have detective and truth be told. This is actually about telling the truth, like about ourselves, about authenticity. And so it's under money, finances, and career. So basically, this is kind of like a nudge and a push to be more authentic at work, be more yourself at work. I think it's really funny. This comes after I talked kind of like about the rebel example I gave you. I mentioned, dyeing your hair and going into a corporate office. It's not necessarily breaking the rules because it's not on the rule book, it's not in the handbook, but maybe you also want to do that, not just because like the rebel in the, upright in the light doesn't mean like you're doing it to just like turn people's heads. You're doing it for the self-expression aspect of it, but also could be for the authenticity aspect of it, right? You want to be like, maybe you feel like this is the natural expression of how you are feeling right now, right? This is how you're feeling on the inside. You're an alternative person or whatever, and you want to dye your hair. You want to have your fashion and your reflection in your body to reflect that, essentially. So anyway, I'm going on a tangent with that rebel, but I think it's very interesting how I kind of like gave that example, and this is kind of almost similar in a way, because this is basically saying like showing up more as yourself, as like an individual, the things that make you great, and showing them up, showing up for work with those things. So yeah, this includes like not only just like being yourself, but it also means like taking those skills and those talents and bringing them to the forefront this week at work, okay? And that could lead to more abundance in money and finances. So weirdly enough, it could get you a raise, or it can get you a bonus, or it could have you, if you're a salesperson, maybe just by being completely authentic, you land an account because the person was like, oh my God, this is so refreshing, right? It leads to a stepping stone. It leads you forward, basically, it's saying. I know this is not a leg up card, which is always like advantageous energy, but it's somewhat borrowing from that energy, saying like, if you do this, you can move forward and you can move the needle at work. You can move forward at work. There's something, that will help you be prosperous at work if you do this. If you tell the truth, if you're authentic. So don't be afraid of the truth. Definitely getting that vibe here, right? With the priority, with the focus with the detective, and then the truth be told. Okay, we haven't necessarily gotten two cards like this, basically saying like, tell the truth, seek the truth, be authentic, like those kinds of things we haven't gotten in a while. So maybe we kind of veered away from our authentic selves, essentially. But this is basically saying, because it's in career, money, and finances, that if we do that, this can move the needle in certain areas in our life, especially also too if you're an entrepreneur. Okay, maybe you haven't been getting the clients that you want because you're not being authentic. Guys, we're moving into, I think this is part of Age of Aquarius. Don't quote me on this. Anybody that knows more about this, please put it down below and correct me or validate me. That we're moving into, the world wants a more authentic, they want to be connected to more authentic people. This includes politicians. I'm already kind of seeing it, right? They want somebody to tell them the truth, not BS them, not dance around the issue, coddle their feelings, etc. Okay, so I think this is a big one here. Okay, I know I just went through most of these and I said I don't necessarily feel big energy, but a little here. Okay, it's a little major here. Okay, So I love that card for us there. Okay, surprise. Magical child, but in the shadow, pessimism, depression, disbelief in miracles, belief in energy, action. Okay. All right, so surprise, pessimism, and surprise, depression. Oh, great. All right, so guys, no beating around the bush. I just came off of this card talking about being authentic, being truthful to you right now. Might be some pockets of depression this week, or finding yourself in a bad mood, or not being as positive as maybe you used to be about something in particular. All I can say to that is try, obviously feel your feelings, embrace them, process them, just try to get back to your baseline, as soon as possible, but it's under surprise, so I think it might come out of nowhere. So sending love to you guys. Don't love this card, but like I said, gotta tell you guys the truth. This is what's coming up energy-wise. All right, friends, a leg up. Speaking of a leg up, what did I just say? Okay. All right, so this is advantageous energy. So it lends some of his energy here. Kind of felt it here with truth be told. But it's under friends, so this is saying advantageous energy. So this is basically saying take advantage of something that your friends or community is offering. So this is always about taking opportunity. So if your community is doing something and it sparks your interest in any way, shape, or form, do it. Take the opportunity to freaking do it, okay? If you're somebody that, always wanted to be a singer, and all of a sudden you see, you go for a walk one day and you see on like a bulletin board that your community is having like a talent show or something like that. I don't know. Guys, I'm bad with I'm not so great with the examples today. This is basically saying, do it. Your community is asking, this is a sign, basically, to enter that singing contest or that talent show, okay? So this is basically saying take any advantage that comes up from community or friends. Maybe you have a friend of a friend that has a job opening that you think that you would be good for, okay? It's not the time to be worried about, oh, but what about all the other people that applied? I'm sorry. This is a little bit of like, you got to take what's, presented to you. And it's almost like the universe is, I believe everything happens for a reason. Okay. So something is being presented to you for a reason. Take it. That's all I have to say here. I think you guys get it, right? Should you take it? Yes. YES. All right. Romantic connection, femme fatale. Oof. Okay. Highlights the erotic energy of the feminine. This one keeps coming up. All right, so this is about sensuality. Don't have to be a female here. I know it's femme is in the title here, but this is talking about feminine energy. So this could be that you're very seductive this week. It's under romantic connection, so get it, guys. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. Sensuality. Playfulness, flirting, lean into all of those. I mean, I don't even know what to say here. Lean into all of those. If you're in a partnership, it feels like it's a very spicy time between you and your partner this week for sure. And if you're single, it fares well as well. It doesn't matter what gender you are, it doesn't matter what gender you are. Doesn't matter what gender you go for. It does not matter. So, God, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I even put in the title. We definitely got some sexy energy going on. And so this is obviously still translating over, and it's under romantic connection. So it actually might have been in the, I'd be interested if it was in the October monthly. I'm starting to think, I don't think so. I think it was like transferring into, maybe it was like the last week of September into the first week of October. I don't know. Anyway, whenever it was, it's here again, okay? And so it's very potent, and it's under romantic connection, so it's extra. So all I can say is go for it, have some fun. What's important? Acknowledging your deep knowing, your inner knowing, your claircognizant. If you just know things to be true, go for it. Will I put it in the same category as the detective and the truth be told? Maybe. This is really about, following your intuition, is part of being a detective. It says so on the card, right? This is the weird one where we have a deep inner knowing about something. We just know things to be true, and that's it. So it's important to not dismiss that. It's very easy to dismiss that. Very easy. But if you know something to be true and somebody's telling you something otherwise, stick with your knowing. I mean, this definitely can be connected to the detective, for sure. For sure. So if you get misleading information when you're, on your detective spree looking for the truth of whatever this is, use your inner knowing. If you know somebody's lying to you, if you know somebody's not telling the truth, stick with that. That's all I have to say with that one. Health and wellness, Messiah, exaggerated belief that you're the only means through which a cause can succeed. I think we actually had this in the same spot. I think so. It had to be very recent because this was a really hard one to kind of interpret. So basically it's saying that you're the only one. You're the only one that can do this. This is the only thing that can cure you, or this is the only thing that can heal you. So beware of messages like that because it came in the shadow. I think it came in the shadow last time too. So be aware of messages like that. If somebody is trying to sell you something that it could be the only thing that could help you, I would run, to be honest with you, because that's what the shadow is really about. It's kind of saying like, you're looking at somebody as the Messiah, as the savior, like as a guru in a way, when in most cases that's not the case. Like there's multiple ways. It's kind of like if I use like the weight loss journey, there's multiple ways that you can lose weight. There's multiple trainers that can help you lose weight. There's multiple avenues in which you can lose weight. There's so many different. You can fast. You can go keto, you can, and everything is like specific to you and your own body and that kind of thing. But, beware of anything that kind of sells like this is the only way you can do it, or this is the only person that can do it, or something along those lines. I would run, to be completely honest with you. I do also want to say, like, beware of any snake oil salesmen when it comes to health and wellness. And that's all I'm going to say. I felt compelled to say that, so I will say that. I got it out. So, yeah, that's always an interesting one in this slot here. All right, overall outcome, co-create. Yay, okay, I like this. Co-create is always about, it could be about manifestation, where you're co-creating with the universe and creating a life that you want. Okay, we kind of talked about manifesting here in the reflects section here. So this is kind of saying, because it's coming out in the overall outcome, it's kind of like, how could we sum up this week? It's kind of saying like, you can start really kind of moving forward and trying to, think about, plan, manifest, visualize, imagine, a life that you want and the things that you want. And don't forget to make time for that this week for sure. Like I said, under reflect, maybe toss out the journal this week and really, like I said, get into a visualization exercise, or just take some time every day to kind of just envision what you actually want. Because you can absolutely create it. And it's also about prosperity. So yeah, I love that we're kind of ending with an abundant card, like a prosperous card. I like that. I love it. It's pretty optimistic, and it's kind of saying like it's time to start thinking about what you actually want and maybe refining those things and whatnot, and understanding that you can, create it and make it happen. So, all right, guys, I think this is a pretty good week. Like I said, I don't love the magical child and the surprise. Might be, surprise depression. I don't know if that's even a thing, but pockets of sadness, a moment of sadness or something like that, of pessimism, that kind of thing. Otherwise, everything else looks pretty good. Like I said, the martyr and the shadow, I would maybe call the magical child a red flag. The martyr and the shadow, it's just basically saying like, watch that we don't slip into this, or watch for others that are like that, addicted to self-pity. But other than that, I like it. I like this week. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, but I definitely would, it's not a red flag to be depressed or have a moment of depression. Like, life is suffering, okay? Life is, you can't be happy all of the time, so it is what it is. But as an optimistic person, I flag it, basically. All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking. All right, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.